In the aftermath of World War II, the United States initiated a secret mission: recruit Nazi scientists to work in American institutions. Welcome to Disturbing History. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. As the dust of war settled and nations rushed to gain the upper hand in the impending Cold War, America saw a chance to use the scientific expertise of Nazi Germany. They acted upon this opportunity without any second thought. Operation Paperclip, which was originally called Operation Overcast, was led by Major Robert B. Staver. His mission? To find and employ German scientists from the Third Reich. An essential component of this covert operation was the finding of the Osenberg List, a document discovered torn and stuffed in a toilet at Bonn University. Named after the Nazi official Werner Osenberg, who created the list, it had more than 1,700 names of engineers and scientists associated with Germany's war efforts. The list included individuals instrumental in the creation of Germany's lethal V-2 rockets. These were men of great knowledge and skill, but their past deeds painted a horrific and inhumane image. Despite the moral dilemma, the United States government acted with no hesitation. Operation Paperclip was more than a simple hiring spree. It was a strategic move to give the United States a technological advantage in the emerging Cold War era. This maneuver led to the recruitment of former Nazis, some stained with the blood of their past, into American institutions. It was a decision that invoked questions about the extent a country would go to maintain global dominance. The dark underbelly of this operation lay in the atrocities these scientists were part of during the war. From the outside, Operation Paperclip may have seemed like an intelligent move for technological advancement, but the reality was far more sinister. The scientists and engineers involved in this operation were not just ordinary professionals. Many of them were directly involved in the horrific acts committed by the Nazi regime during World War II. Among the most notorious were those who had a hand in the development and production of the V-2 rockets. This supersonic missile, a marvel of engineering, was a testament to the ruthlessness of the Nazi war machine. Thousands of innocent people in France, Belgium, and Great Britain died as a result of V-2 bombings that made impact without any audible warning. The production of these rockets was expedited through the use of slavery. Thousands of Jewish and Romani prisoners, prisoners of war, and even children were forced labor in underground facilities with no bathrooms, proper lighting, ventilation, or heat. It was known that many prisoners entered the tunnels, but few left alive, often dying of starvation or disease within days. The death toll was so high that corpses were scattered all through the tunnels. Their incinerator could not keep up, so they had to ship bodies off to other camps to be incinerated. These were not mere factories, but death camps, where working conditions were so severe that death was often a merciful release. Imagine the lives of these prisoners forced to contribute to the very machinery that was causing untold devastation to their homelands. The scientists were fully aware of the atrocities occurring. Their suffering was a direct result of the actions taken by the very scientists who were later welcomed into American society. In the concentration camps, human experiments were conducted on men, women, and children. These atrocities included vivisections, which is the dissection of living people with no anesthesia, as well as exposure to deadly pathogens and nerve gas. The lines between scientific progress and human suffering was blurred. The scientists who worked there were able to separate their scientific pursuits from the human cost, a chilling testament to the power of ideological manipulation. They were able to justify their actions through the belief that they were contributing to a greater cause, a belief that was later exploited by the US government in the name of technological superiority. As the war ended, the chessboard of global power had shifted. The United States, once fighting fervently against the Nazis, now sought their expertise. Former Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians, whom were involved in atrocities, were now being recruited by American corporations and government bodies. Simultaneously, the U.S. was making strategic interventions in Soviet-occupied territories. Two operations in particular stood out. Operation Bloodstone was a covert mission to infiltrate Soviet territories, and Operation Drag and Drop was aimed at intercepting scientists released by the Soviets back into Germany after interrogation. These operations were high-stakes gambles, with the ultimate prize being technological dominance. How could a nation that had fought so vehemently against the horrors of the Nazis now embrace those same individuals who had perpetrated these crimes? Let's delve into the lives of some of those recruited by Operation Paperclip. First, there's Werner von Braun. He was a prominent figure in Nazi Germany, a member of the SS, and the key architect of the V2 rocket program. After being recruited into Operation Paperclip, he briefly returned to Germany, where he married his cousin, before moving to Alabama. Insert married cousins in Alabama jokes here. Von Braun's allegiance to the Nazi regime and his involvement in the atrocities committed during the war cannot be understated. Despite his Nazi past, von Braun became chief of the Guided Missile Development Group at Redstone Arsenal, and later became a director at NASA. Yet, von Braun's influence extended beyond his engineering prowess. He wrote a novel and several articles for Collier's magazine, catching the attention of Walt Disney. He collaborated with Disney on space programs and appeared in various shows about space travel. The Von Braun Center in Alabama stands as a testament to his contributions that some hoped would overshadow his Nazi past, and he was posthumously inducted into the U.S. Army Ordnance Corps Hall of Fame in 1973, solidifying his status as a controversial figure with a lasting legacy in the annals of rocket science. Another key figure is Kurt Debus. He was complicit in war crimes during the V2 rocket program, overseeing the use of forced labor during the production of these deadly weapons. However, his past was conveniently overlooked when he became the first director of NASA's Kennedy Space Center, a position of immense influence and responsibility. The Kurt H. Debus Conference Facility was built in his honor. The National Space Club Florida Committee annually presents the Kurt Debus Award to high achievers in the aerospace industry. His contributions to the U.S. space program are undeniable, but so are his actions during the war. Then we have Kurt Blohm. He was a high-ranking Nazi scientist who exposed victims to deadly pathogens and nerve agents at Auschwitz. These horrifying experiments caused immense suffering to countless men, women, and children. During Operation Paperclip, Blohm was recruited to work for the controversial MK-Ultra program in the United States. This operation was a CIA project aimed at researching mind control and chemical interrogation methods. The fact that a man with such a dark past was involved in this program is chilling. Next, we turn to Walter Dornberger. He was a major general in the Nazi regime. Dornberger was fully aware of the deadly conditions in the V2 program. Realizing the war was going awry in 1944, he communicated with the General Electric Corporation. Yes, that, GE, seeking an arrangement through Operation Paperclip. Once a free man in the United States, Dornberger worked for the United States Air Force, dedicating 3 years to the development of guided missiles. From 1950 to 1965, Dornberger held a significant position at the Bell Aircraft Corporation, ultimately rising to the post of vice president. His influence reached even further, rubbing elbows with LBJ, who had his own private Bell helicopter, as well as supplying helicopters for the Vietnam War. Finally, we look at Dr. Hubertus Strughold. He was involved in horrific experiments on prisoners during Nazi Germany, live dissections, submerging prisoners in freezing water, and even oxygen deprivation tests on children. His work was directly responsible for the deaths and suffering of countless innocent people. Yet after the war, he was able to continue his career in space medicine as chief scientist for the Air Force and NASA. He even earned the title, the Father of Space Medicine, for his contributions. After his death, more details of his gruesome experiments were revealed, leading to many of the monuments and awards in his name being revoked. I guess the strughold is real. The engineers of the Holocaust, architects of weapons of mass destruction, and the perpetrators of war crimes found refuge and respect in the land of liberty and justice. Meanwhile, those who suffered their atrocities, those who fought against them, and those who still struggled for equal rights on home soil were left grappling with their scars. Holocaust survivors, their lives forever marred by the horrors they experienced, struggled to rebuild in the aftermath. The nightmares of concentration camps, forced labor, and the loss of entire families haunted them as they tried to piece together their shattered lives. Yet the very men who had a hand in this unprecedented genocide were living comfortably, their pasts conveniently overlooked in the name of scientific progress. World War II veterans, many of whom bore physical and emotional scars from the fierce battles against Nazi Germany, returned home only to face unemployment, disability, homelessness, and untreated mental health issues. The men they fought against, however, were now their countrymen, employed in prestigious positions, contributing to American scientific advancements. Japanese internment camp detainees, American citizens of Japanese descent, experienced their own form of wartime atrocity. Stripped of their rights and properties, they were forced into internment camps, their loyalty questioned solely based on their ancestry. And yet, after the war, while they struggled to reclaim their lives and rights, the architects of a regime that promoted racial purity and superiority were welcomed with open arms. African Americans who fought on two fronts, against fascism abroad and for civil rights at home, found their fight for equality met with violent resistance, even as former Nazis were integrated into American society. While they battled segregation, discrimination, and racial violence, the men who had once subscribed to a doctrine of racial hierarchy were given a fresh start as first-class American citizens, their pasts conveniently forgotten. To interrogate them is expected. To grant them immunity for top-secret information is shocking yet still understandable. But to give them U.S. citizenship, access to elite members of society, prestigious positions in the government and major corporations is really suspect. The legacy of Operation Paperclip prompts contemplation on whether these decisions were driven by the greater good of the United States or if some high-ranking U.S. officials were sympathetic to or fully aligned with Nazi ideology. This claim is not entirely without merit. After all, some high-ranking U.S. officials, such as Allen Dulles, the first director of the CIA, had established connections with Nazi officials during the war. And General S. Patton stated in a letter that the Jewish Holocaust survivors were subhuman. The motivations behind Operation Paperclip are multifaceted and complex. They were undoubtedly influenced by the geopolitical climate of the time, driven by the need for technological supremacy in the Cold War. Yet, the willingness to overlook the past atrocities of these individuals, coupled with the contrasting treatment of other groups, suggests that there may have been more at play than just the greater good. As we delve into this dark chapter of American history, we are forced to confront uncomfortable truths about the lengths a nation is willing to go for the sake of progress. We are reminded that history is not always black and white, and often the lines between right and wrong can become blurred in the pursuit of power. Thank you for watching Disturbing History. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Then please visit our blog, disturbinghistory.com.